You might find this hard to believe, but success does not require effort. Yes, that's right. It doesn't demand struggle. It requires a decision. Most people spend their entire lives fighting to succeed, when all they really needed was to act with clarity. Have you ever felt stuck, even after trying absolutely everything? Have you ever had the sense that you're constantly busy yet going nowhere? That's no coincidence. That's mental programming. I know it because I've lived it. Have you ever stopped to think about how your day begins? It might not seem like it, but those first few moments after you wake up shape the entire direction of your life. And that's not an exaggeration. I learned this from my greatest mentor, Earl Nightingale. He used to say, "Bob, the first 5 or 10 minutes of your day will probably set the tone for how the rest of it unfolds." I heard that, and I must admit, at first I didn't pay much attention, but after a while I realized he was absolutely right. Most people wake up to a jarring alarm clock, immediately reach for their phones, get sucked into social media, messages, work problems, and bad news, all in the very first minutes of the morning. This instantly puts the mind into a state of anxiety, urgency, and lack. Without noticing, you begin your whole day reacting instead of creating. You wake up on autopilot, living as if you have to put out fires nonstop. But what if you changed that? What if in those first few minutes of your day, you made the conscious decision to pause, to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, who do I want to be today? How do I want to feel? What do I want to build? That's where the magic begins. That's exactly what I started doing, and I can tell you, my life has never been the same. Before anything else, before checking emails, the news, or any commitments, I stop. I close my eyes and visualize. I tune into the frequency of what I desire, not what I must confront. Because everything in the universe works through vibration. You attract what matches your internal state. And if you begin your day feeling pressured, anxious, and rushed, guess what your day will return to you? Exactly the same. That's why this small morning ritual is so incredibly powerful. Because it reconnects you with your true power. This approach places you in the position of the creator, rather than the victim. And listen carefully, it doesn't require more than 5 minutes, just 5 short minutes. But those 5 minutes could mean the difference between a day of productivity and a day of stagnation, between a day of growth and a day of mere survival. Now reflect with me. How many times have you felt drained right at the very start of the morning? How often have you opened your eyes and already felt empty of energy, as if the weight of the world was far too heavy? This has nothing to do with your body. It's to do with your mind. Your mind has been conditioned to immediately focus on problems. And whatever you give your attention to, it expands. There's a pattern at play here, and perhaps you've never really stopped to see it. But just consider, what if you use that moment, that delicate space between sleep and wakefulness, to reprogram yourself in a new way? You would rise with greater intent, with enhanced clarity, with renewed courage. Because instead of being pushed around by the day, you would choose to push the day in your own chosen direction. I recall a time when I was facing significant transformations. I had to make difficult choices. The pressure was immense. And every single morning as I awoke, my mind attempted to drag me into fear, into doubt, into worry. But then I would remember what Earl had once taught me, and I made the choice to stop, to breathe, to visualize clearly the outcome I wished to create. And little by little, the answers began to emerge. Not because the world changed, but because I changed the way I entered the world each morning. Do you know what's truly fascinating? Science has already shown that our brain is at its most malleable state right after waking. In other words, it is more adaptable, more open, more sensitive to the input you provide. Researchers at the University of California in Los Angeles have demonstrated that the very first mental activities of the day have the power to shape neural pathways over time. It's as though you're writing the script of who you're going to become every single morning. So let me ask you an honest question. Are you the one writing the script of your life, or are you letting someone else write it for you? I'd like to offer you a challenge. It's simple, yet profoundly transformative. For the next 7 days, when you wake up, do not touch your phone for at least 10 minutes. Sit with yourself, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what is my intention for this day? Picture it clearly in your mind. See yourself succeeding. Feel a deep sense of gratitude as if it has already come to pass. If you do this for 7 consecutive days, you will begin to notice the shift. And I give you my word, if you continue for 30 full days, you won't want to begin your mornings any other way. You hold the key. You always have. You just need to remember to use it as soon as you wake. People are constantly saying things like, I'll try to start that project. I'll try to change careers. I'll try to wake up earlier. But let me tell you something perhaps no one has ever said to you before. Trying changes absolutely nothing. You either do it or you don't. The whole idea of trying is a trap that keeps you stuck while giving you the illusion of progress. I remember once during a talk, I asked someone in the audience to try standing up from their chair. They looked at me puzzled. I repeated, try to stand up. Naturally, they stood up. I said, no, you stood up. I asked you to try. They smiled, and in that moment they understood. There's no such thing as trying. There is only deciding, and every real decision is always followed by action. You could spend years studying, reading books, drafting plans, but as long as all of it remains preparation and never turns into concrete action, you'll stay exactly where you are. It's like someone who spends a lifetime packing their bags yet never gets into the car to set off on the journey. Action is the point where the world starts to respond to you. Until then, everything is just theory. And look, I'm not saying preparation isn't important. Of course it is, but it only has value when it's followed by movement. Have you ever stopped to think about how many brilliant ideas you've had in your life that you never brought to life? Perhaps you thought of starting a business, writing a book, launching a course, making a major life change, and then you overthought it. You waited too long, you planned too much, and you never did it. And do you know what's most brutal? While you hesitate, someone else with less talent, less training, but more decisiveness goes ahead and does it, and achieves what could have been yours. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. People full of immense potential, paralyzed by fear. Fear of failing, fear of not being enough, fear of being judged. But let me tell you a hard truth. Fear never goes away completely. You only truly learn to act when fear is present. Fear is a sign that you are standing close to something meaningful. If you can learn to harness that feeling as fuel, nothing will be able to stand in your way. I remember clearly the moment I decided to leave the insurance sector, a field where I was already well established and earning a comfortable income, and fully immerse myself in the world of personal growth. Many people called me mad. They said it was far too risky. But deep down, I felt it was the right time. And so I acted. I didn't wait until I felt ready. I didn't wait for everything to make sense. I trusted in the vision and took action. And it was that decision, more importantly, that action, that changed everything for me. Had I waited for the perfect moment, I would likely still be waiting today. You see, the secret isn't about doing something enormous straight away. It's about beginning. Take that first step, even if it feels small. Clarity comes through movement. You will never see the entire path if you remain at the starting point, but as you move forward, the next stages begin to reveal themselves. There's an interesting insight from Columbia University which shows that consistent actions, even small ones, have a greater long-term impact than occasional grand decisions. In other words, acting daily, even in simple ways, is far more powerful than waiting for the big breakthrough. And don't be fooled, not acting is also a choice, and it comes at a price. The price of regret, of frustration, a feeling that life is slipping by while you simply observe from the sidelines. So I ask you, what are you putting off today? What idea lives within you but still hasn't been brought to life? What dream is sitting there, waiting for you to have enough courage? Life doesn't wait, and you don't need to be completely prepared to begin. You only need to be committed and take that first step. Because once you are in motion, the entire universe begins to align in your favor. But it only responds to action. There is something great within you, but that something needs movement to blossom. The time has come to stop planning and start living the life you were born for, right now. Perhaps this is exactly what you are experiencing right now, and it raises a question that may feel uncomfortable but is absolutely necessary. Why is it that so much effort is not bringing you the results you truly deserve? Let me explain the reason. It's not because you're not working hard enough. It's because there's a lack of inner alignment. Your body is taking action, but your mind is locked in a state of lack. You are striving forward, but your energy is vibrating on the wrong frequency. Everything in the universe functions based on vibration. Everything. And you attract whatever matches your internal state. If your thoughts are constantly revolving around debts, bills, fear of being made redundant, or uncertainty about the future, then those are exactly the experiences that will keep appearing, because the thoughts you repeat most often become a form of inner programming, and your body obeys the mind even when you don't consciously realize it. Let me share something with you that perhaps no one has ever told you before. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner state. You cannot experience peace, prosperity, or abundance if inside you there is only conflict, doubt, and fear. For many years of my life, I was trapped in this inner struggle. Yes, I was earning money, but I couldn't hold on to it. There was always a new expense, an emergency, something that threw me off balance. And I used to believe the problem was the world, the bills, the system, until I finally understood it was my mind that wasn't prepared to sustain prosperity. Everything changed when I began to reprogram the mental image I held of myself. I stopped seeing myself as someone who was just trying to get by, and instead started seeing myself as someone who had already succeeded. I began to behave as though I were already successful, even before any outward results appeared. And this wasn't about pretending, it was about shifting the core of my identity. There is a well-known study conducted by Yale University which shows that emotions linked to abundance activate specific areas of the brain associated with creativity and long-term decision-making. In contrast, emotions associated with lack, such as fear, anxiety, and insecurity, stimulate the survival centers of the brain, keeping you stuck in the cycle of reacting to the immediate. In other words, when you change your mental frequency, you quite literally activate different parts of your brain. You begin to think in terms of solutions rather than simply seeing problems. You begin to notice possibilities in places where you previously saw only barriers. And do you know what's truly remarkable? When you shift to this new frequency, people around you sense it. You attract a different kind of clientele, new and unexpected connections, and paths that were once completely hidden. Everything begins to move in a way that feels almost unbelievable. But making this shift takes courage. Many people cling to a mindset of lack, as if it were a core part of who they are. They say things like, "This is just who I am." In my family, things have always been hard. They've been conditioned to survive, not to thrive. But let me ask you something. Is that actually true, or just a story you've heard so many times that you've come to believe it? You don't have to repeat your family's history. You are not condemned to live in survival mode. You have the power to change your frequency. And once you do, everything around you begins to reconfigure itself. I remember a woman who joined one of our programs. She worked as a nurse, pulling 3 shifts a day, constantly exhausted and burdened with debt. She said she felt trapped. But once she realized that her mind was the first field that needed to shift, everything started to change. She began practicing affirmations, visualizations, and most importantly, she started taking action based on the image of who she wanted to become, not who she thought she was. Within just a few months, she was promoted, launched a small side business, and for the first time in years, she was able to put some money aside. This isn't magic. It's physics. It's neuroscience. It's awareness. If you want to alter what's happening around you, you must first transform what's happening within. And that change begins now, with a decision, with a commitment to a new identity, with the choice to live from the inside out. Because your body will always follow your mind, and your life will follow what you believe is possible. Everything surrounding you now was once just an idea. That mobile phone in your hand, the screen you're looking at, the chair you're sitting on, all of it began in someone's imagination. But here's the thing, ideas alone hold no value. What brings about transformation is what you choose to do with them. And perhaps you've already felt this. Perhaps you've had an idea that made your heart race a little faster. A thought that once felt radiant with promise? Perhaps it was a fresh business concept, a bold life transition, or something deep within whispering that it could truly work. But then the day slipped by. You didn't write it down, you took no action, and the idea faded. It vanished in the same way that countless ideas perish each and every day because no steps were taken. It's disheartening to witness the vast potential lost due to paralysis. Yet what's even more painful is when someone senses something great inside them, yet keeps turning away out of fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of looking foolish. How many opportunities have you let drift away because you thought the timing wasn't quite right? The truth is, the perfect moment never arrives with a glowing sign. It shows up disguised as hesitation, as challenge, as uncertainty, and only reveals itself as a major opportunity after you've said yes and stepped forward. For years, I watched brilliant minds remain frozen in the grip of perfectionism, which, more often than not, was nothing more than fear wearing a polished mask. They craved certainty that everything would succeed before making a move. But such certainty is an illusion. You only learn what truly works after you begin, never before. I remember the moment clearly, when the idea struck to create a platform that would deliver daily videos on personal development, helping people start their mornings with the right mindset. It was a simple concept, yet deeply powerful, and I felt that with clarity. Still, several people around me said it might not work, that nobody would watch, that it was too much content. But I carried on, and that one decision helped thousands of people across the globe rewire their minds during the earliest hours of the day. And all because I chose to act on a thought. Just imagine how many lives you could influence if you silenced the fear and began right now. There's a phrase I hold dear. Ideas are cheap, but the one who acts on them is worth more than £1 million sterling. And that couldn't be more true. Because while you're still thinking, someone else is already doing. While you hesitate, someone else is taking the first step. While you wait, someone is living the dream you only picture in your mind. You must understand, the world doesn't suffer from a lack of brilliant ideas. What it lacks is commitment, the determination to bring those ideas out of the mind and into the real world. And in most situations, what truly stands in the way isn't a lack of hours in the day, financial means, or access to knowledge. It is a lack of self-belief. Everything you require is already within you. And if anything is missing, it will come to you once you set things in motion. Because it's through the process that you gain understanding, grow as a person, sharpen your abilities, and uncover the tools you need. Scientific research backs this up too. Investigations from Stanford University reveal that, more often than not, action comes before motivation. That is, you don't need to wait until you feel ready. You simply need to begin. And the very act of starting brings about the motivation you previously believed you needed beforehand. So, what will you do with the thoughts and ideas that are within you today? Will you allow them to vanish into the noise of daily life? Or will you breathe life into them and let them alter the course of your future? The choice is entirely yours, and the moment to decide is now. Action is the bridge between what you envision and what you experience. It makes no difference how many dreams you carry, how many sparks of brilliance pass through your mind, or how strongly you desire transformation. If you don't act, nothing will change. But once you choose to act with intention, in alignment with the person you aspire to become, the world around you begins to adjust. And if you felt even the slightest stirring inside, that's a signal. You are ready to climb to the next level. The next video is already waiting on your screen. Click and join me. Let's carry on with this journey together. And I promise you, by the time it ends, you'll be at least 1% better than you are now. Thank you for staying with me until now. I'll see you there.